credits and some child care tax benefits passing the House. Well, where it goes in the Senate, we'll find out from some of our regular contributors. Good morning, Jack, Heath, J-Dog on the boards. It is a Thursday. Welcome to February. Welcome to February. February 1st. Hopefully you're having a good start to your day. Milder temperatures today. Still a little bit overcast, but not bad out there, J-Dog. As we get going this morning, one of the key things we're going to have in the 11 o'clock hour, if you're a veteran out there, and a lot of you are, and thank you for your service, if you're a veteran and your families, or caregiver of a veteran, you're going to want to tune in at 11 o'clock. Tom Raffio will be in the house, our main studios, president and CEO of Northeast Delta Dental. Talking about this oral health, sort of closing the gap that exists here, where veterans do not get oral health care coverage from the VA unless they were basically like a POW or can show they were hurt in the line of duty. And 20 years later, when you have a need oral health surgery, it should be covered, right? If you're a veteran through your health care or the VA, but it's not through a congressional glitch. So we're going to tell you how you can get that oral health care coverage live at 11. So that's pretty cool because we're not talking just like, no disrespect to teeth whitening and cosmetic stuff. We're talking like actual oral health surgery and stuff that could be like serious. We're going to get a check-in this morning from the Easter Seals of New Hampshire, Renee Plummer, the big blood drive going on today live. And one of the interesting local stories here, and by the way, good morning on the Pulse of NH. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of NH. Get the news app. It's great. We get our new website, the Pulse of NH, and, of course, our network of news talk station right up into Portland, Maine, Seacoast, New Hampshire, WTSN 1270 AM 91 FM. I talked to you yesterday with Anna Brown about some of these bills in the State House. So what about, one of the stories that's, it's a national debate, albeit it's a national debate, but, it's here locally, the same debate. And that is a story that we're going to be talking a little bit about with Michael Granby joining us. But one of the leading Democrats in the state Senate who's coached and taught for decades in New Hampshire, respected both as an educator and a coach and a leading voice of common sense and reason in the State House, regular contributor tomorrow on Friday. We'll ask him about this, but State Senator Lou D'Alessandro of Manchester, article out, Keep Men Out of Women's Sports. And that's one of the issues. There's a bill in the House. And Lou D'Alessandro, it's a proposal preventing biological males from competing against female athletes and has the backing of Senator Lou, one of the big Democrats there. So we'll have that. We got a lot going on this morning. President Biden, as we speak, is speaking at the prayer breakfast in D.C., still waiting to see the United States response to the attack in Jordan from the Iranian-backed terrorist out of Syria. It sounds like it's going to be not just a swift response, but striking several Iranian targets. Could be sustained over a couple of days, and I hope it sends a clear message to Tehran to knock it off. By the way, and I don't know, again, I try and say this, and I don't want to sound frustrated, but I don't think a lot of people understand this. That attack on Israel, Saturday, October 7th, and you got to remember there was a perfectly good ceasefire in Gaza before that attack. That attack by Hamas, a terrorist group, number one covenant of the group is to obliterate Israel. Didn't just happen on a whim. It wasn't just a spontaneous, hey, let's take 200 or 300 terrorists and go up and behead children as they sleep and kill children in schools and kidnap grandmothers and rape young women at the kibbutz in the villages of Israel. It didn't just happen. It was planned, it was sponsored, and it was supported by Tehran. And the goal was to have a bigger war in the Middle East and obliterate Israel. Hezbollah was supposed to do more of the Red Sea stuff, and then you just saw, so Tehran's behind all this. Hamas, these organizations that struck our base, the remote base in Jordan, these organizations would not exist without Tehran. Financially, weapons, arms, support. It's all out of Tehran. So we'll see what the response is. Still, the border battle, the political battle over the southern border continues. What a farce that is, right? What a crisis. What a crisis, and all we get is finger pointing from our politicians. It's rather remarkable, really. Also coming up this morning on Good Morning Pulse of NH, Good Morning New Hampshire, it's our friends from Bank of America, Stephen Junot, one of their leading economists, really going to try and unravel what a lot of us are trying to figure out now that we're into February in the new year. What is the economy? What is really going on this year? Is consumer confidence slowly coming back? Is the Federal Reserve actually in the spring going to lower interest rates? Is inflation actually starting to get under control? Are people going to be spending more? What's going on in the economy? It's sort of defying all odds, and we're going to hear from our friends at Bank of America as we will before. So we have a lot going on, and as far as locally, J Dog, it's hard to believe we're in that lull period, right? In between sports. Well, the Pro Bowl. I mean, flag football this weekend. Yeehaw, yippee, hooray! But the NHL will be back. It's too much for me to handle this morning, J Dog. Do you? Yeah, good. Well, that's okay. I think the harder one is if you're a Christmas baby, like the week before Christmas is your birthday, and then you got Christmas. People don't know whether to give you one thing or two. All right. Coming up, we have our auto fair segment. New Hampshire State Police. We're going to feature State Trooper of Troop D, as in David. Talk about his current assignment and why he chose this career. He's relatively new to the state police, and what advice he has to others interested in joining the division in public safety in Hampshire State Police. So we're going to talk with Trooper Brett Romig of Troop D coming up, and of course, Auto Fair, big sponsor of our state police segment. Reminder: you still can go to Auto. I think you still go to Auto Fair Nissan in Stratham. Auto Fair Nissan in Stratham, right off exit 11 on 101 in Stratham, and get an additional $500 off any new or used vehicle. Doesn't matter if it's a Nissan or not. Doesn't matter if you buy or lease. $500 additional off. $500, real money. That will go a little further than it did a year ago. $500 off. Just say Jack. Just say Jack if you get a new used vehicle at Auto Fair Nissan and Stratham. I take a quick break back with our state police segment brought to you by Auto Fair. A little bit later on, Michael Graham, New Hampshire Journal. Biological males, should they be allowed to compete like at the interscholastic high school level or whatever in sports? A leading state Democrat, State Senator Lou D'Alessandro says no, former coach and teacher. We're going to have a lot more on the Pulse of an Age, plus a live update from that big blood drive going on at Easter Seals, New Hampshire, and downtown Manchester and Auburn Street. Back in a moment. All right, we have a lot coming up, live and local and national and beyond. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the pulse of an age. Going to hear from our friends. Really, a pretty crisp analysis on what the economy is doing over the next year. There's no one really better than Stephen Janot with Bank of America. He'll be on around 10:30. Interest rates, consumer confidence, inflation, all that stuff. Real estate. We're going to have some fun because it is important to talk about. Big blood drive today. Easter Seals, New Hampshire, in honor of Dan Plummer. Renee Plummer is there, and she's a regular and a good friend of the show, good friend of mine, good friend of New Hampshire. She'll be checking in from the blood drive, Easter Seals, New Hampshire. Of course, they also oversee one of their great programs, Veterans Count. In the spring, I'll be doing my 12-hour radiothon again. I think it's my 10th annual for Veterans Count. Reminder, in a couple of Saturdays, Saturday, September, I'm sorry, September, February 17th, Saturday, February 17th, Suncook Lake in Barnstead. Wyatt Barney from Prospect Mountain High School has organized this ice fishing derby in support of veterans in Veterans County. He's just a junior in high school, and he thought of he and Alexis and his team there thought of supporting veterans in the community. Veterans Count $15 per ticket. I promised Wyatt who would mess around with a guy named Wyatt from Prospect Mountain High School. I promised him I'd promote his fishing derby. $15 a ticket. They got first, second, third, and he says the lake there in Barnstead is full of good pickerel and yellow and white perch and all that stuff. So some fun stuff. Have fun, and it supports veterans, and it's great to have a young person supporting the community. Time now for our Auto Fair State Police, New Hampshire State Police segment. We're brought to you by Auto Fair, the men and women of the State Police, and we're joined by Brett Romig of Troop D, State Trooper, and relatively, I understand, a little bit newer to the job and fascinated about his background, his current assignment, and why he chose this profession. Brett, thanks for joining us on Good Morning New Hampshire, the Pulse of an Age. Tell us a little bit about you and your background and what brought you to the state police and public safety. Where does Brett that sense of service come from? Is it in your family or just innate in you? And it's commendable. I just talked about that young high school student Wyatt at Prospect Mountain High School in Alton, who's wants to help his community, wants to serve. I actually talked to him after the segment about looking at the military or public service. Where does that sense of service come from? And where are you from geographically? And what? How long have you been on now, Brett, in the state police? I guess one of my questions is you served in the army, and thank you for that. And you go through, I know the state police and really all local law enforcement here have the same standardized training at the police academy in Concord. You go through a training period, you go through an interviewing process, you go through an apprenticeship, or you might be under a trooper in terms of getting acclimated. You're out of Troop D. We'll come back to that. But what were the adjustments? The process of becoming a trooper? What surprised you? What did not surprise you? Was it about what you expected? And what about Troop D, Brett? Trooper, what about Troop D? What's the mission, the main mission there, and where is it? Tell us sort of. I know where it is, but tell everyone about your troop. Hmm. And what's your any advice or thoughts of someone that you did have the army background, but let's assume someone did not. Let's assume that someone's I'm just saying they might be they might work and they might be a home builder, they might be work for utility, they might work for a financial institution. I don't care, but they're thinking about something with service. They're intrigued. They wonder if they have what it takes. They're not sure. What would your being relatively new to the job? What would your advice be to someone who might be remotely interested in looking into the career of law enforcement or state police? Trooper Brett Romig, Troop D. Before we let you go, is your main mission out there on the road, or is it in a little bit? What's your mission, your job, daily job? What does it entail? Must have been because I didn't expect it. Was it Tuesday, J Dog? The black ice. You must have been busy on Tuesday, huh? If you were on. All right. Thank you very much, Trooper, for what you do in your service. I appreciate enlightening others on what you do and your passion for service. It's contagious. It should be. Thank you. Wow, I've been doing this a while, J Dog. Was he an excellent spokesperson for his job or what? Just natural, passionate. You know what I mean? Well spoken, just really calm, cool. Just loves what he does and makes a difference. You think about that. Just think about this from a here's an inspirational. I think it's inspirational, but maybe you may not. I don't want to sound like John Tesh and get into the preachy stuff or health stuff, but you know, think about. I use this as an example recently of a buddy I know, but think about what you just heard from that state trooper. But think about anyone out there. We have here's just a not inspiration, motivational. This is what I was trying to say. Motivational. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates per capita in the country, right here. I think it's like 2.5%. So that means there's a lot of jobs and a lot of companies are looking for people. Even if they're not advertising, they're looking for people. Trust me, they're looking for team members. They're looking for someone to join the company. It could be a privately owned business, could be a big business, could be the state of New Hampshire, hundreds of job openings. If you don't like what you do, and it's hard because life can knock you down. The news can be depressing this time of year, unless you're an avid, ice fisherman or you want to ski or cross country ski or snowboard. Gets a little the ice and the sleet or whatever, and the grayness. As we have winter, some people have a hard time with the seasonal stuff. Um, but if you don't like it's not like the unemployment rate is high and you can't change jobs. Don't blame your employer or your company. Look in the mirror. If you want to make a change, do something that you really want to do. Work is work. I don't care if you're getting paid millions of dollars to catch a football. It's work. But if you love it, you don't really work. You work, but you don't really stress about it because you like working if you like what you do. It's that simple. And sometimes people, they can't stand Mondays, they can't stand Tuesdays, they can't wait till Friday because they do not like what they do for work. Change it. My advice is don't quit right away. Keep working. Step back, look in the mirror, and think about what you want to do. In this state, we have a marvelous community college system. It's incredible. I'm a big fan of it. Kind of ahead of I love Plymouth State University. I love UNH and Durham. All our schools, Keene. I get it. But our community colleges are scattered throughout the state, north, south, east, and west. And you can go there for a couple $1,000s here and there and get an associate's degree or bump up a degree and come out and get a real trade, a job, not a trade. And by the way, trade should no longer be negative. Trades should be positive. Doing something with your hands, and I don't care if you're culinary school and cooking or building or putting in a mini split. That's work. That's virtuous work. And some morons in our society decades ago tried to tell us that use your hands, you're not using your brains. That's not noble. But you know what? Shut up. Just go off in your staff rooms in your Ivy League colleges and pontificate on, all that you are just so smart about. Using your hands is one of the most noble, virtuous things you can do because it takes using your hands and your brain. I remember in high school, you could take shop classes, metalworking, woodworking. I wasn't great at it, but I wasn't bad at it. It was fun to build something, create something in your class. And if you didn't know how to do it, the teacher was great. Your other students might have been better than you, and they helped you, and you made something. It could have been a birdhouse. It could have been something for your parents. It was fun. But if you don't like what you do, change it. Step back from the plate some weekend. Instead of staring at the flat screen, take a walk. Think about, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? What do I like to do? I used the example recently of a buddy of mine, entrepreneurial, had a good business with his brother, very successful business. He sold it. Then he got into sort of, some rental properties. He's handy, with taking care of like plumbing and, HVAC electrical. And he just kind of, he's not that old and a little bit older, but he was like, kind of like bored. And he went to one of these stores. He went to one of these great businesses. Maybe it rhymes with Home Depot. And he got hired as one of their, facilities managers. And he gets up early in the morning now, earlier than me, which he didn't never used to do, but he doesn't care. He's like a little kid. He likes it. He goes in there and he feels like this entity is his, what was that movie about the museum, Night Watch or whatever with Adam, the museum. Remember that Night Watch? Like he took that museum like it was his. Like he took care of it at night. I forget who was the actor, but they had like whatever. They had remember the character that played Teddy Roosevelt. Yeah, but whoever worked in that museum at night, Ben Stiller, that was his place, animals and everything. So it's never been a better time, whether it's public service. And then the other thing about thinking about life, I know my brightest days, because we all have our dark days. My brightest days are when I can, through this show, help someone. And having Wyatt in the other day talking about his, it may seem like a small little ice fishing tournament, but there's a gigantic message here of a junior in high school. That's why I keep talking about it in Prospect Mountain High School. J-Dog, is it in Alton? And he's putting together this ice fishing tournament to benefit veterans. The point is, he's a young person, a junior in high school, giving a damn about his community of veterans. Right, Renee Plummer's going to a blood drive right now to help other people who will need blood. And, I always find that whenever I can point this show and this microphone in a direction to help someone, veterans or someone, or I was very blown away when we did that before the holidays, that food drive, caring and sharing, and was a 26 J-Dog food pantries that we raised money for, 26. And the people that needed meals now, types of families that never used to. So I think doing good is very virtuous, and there's never been a time to do it. So we come back. Sorry to keep Michael Graham on hold. He's listening. NH Journal, a couple of big stories. Should biological males play like, high school sports or junior high school sports in New Hampshire? Controversial issue brewing at the State House. Back on the Pulse of NH in a moment. I was on that little shit, what's that guy's name with wears a hat like me, baseball hat. Mike, how I was going there. Talking about work and trades. So I was on my little rant on that, and our next guest and regular contributor, Michael Graham, and in all seriousness, has built up New Hampshire Journal, NHJournal.com, into a real media presence, and he works very hard at it. But my sense is he likes what he does because he's got great energy at it. Good morning, Michael. You can't help yourself. You can't help yourself, can you? You can't help yourself. You can't even take a simple compliment without a flippant answer. Well, you know why. The narrative is, different than common sense or logic. Yep, yep. Oh, he's a great guy, great teacher, great good coach. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's always been someone who's not apprehensive to kind of speak some common sense. He'll say good things about Senate President Bradley, who's a Republican, good things about Governor Sununu. He's a classy guy. Well, if you feel what you are, I mean, I look at you look at if you feel you are, I mean, I look at I don't want to minimize the emotional torment that someone would have if they feel there's something that they're biologically not. But when it comes to commonsensical things like sports, on a football field or whatever, there is a difference between a biological male and a female. Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. Let me ask you a question. I I agree with Senator Lou, and I think people get a little bit over the top in this stuff. But if you had a child that was going through this, 12-year-old said, I'm this, but I feel I'm that. Would you be saying the same stuff? Yep. No, I know. I know. Yeah. No, I agree. All right. What else you? Yeah, that's I saw that. Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, the ACLU would take on Governor Abbott of Texas if he tries to fortify his border because they would like to have no borders. All right. Good stuff, Michael. You're fired up. I can tell you got some sleep and you got rid of that head cold and listening. And I love the fact that you're listening to Luke Bryan. That's great. Listen, have a good one. I remember that. I remember that. There's another guy that should have run for political office and just kept quiet. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Michael Graham. He's a little feisty, isn't he? A little feisty. But you know what? Provocative sometimes. But interesting. These are interesting debates, and they're happening right here in New Hampshire, not just around the country. But again, a lot of these things, I always think, if we could just inject some common sense, like common sense. I have a theory. I've said this before that if you were starting a new hedge fund and you're getting investments in a precious resource like I don't know, gold, silver. What do they make the batteries out of? Lithium, cobalt. Common sense is the commodity, and you get all these investors would be worth $1 billion, $1 trillion, because there's no like where's common sense gone? In general, you can't even some people are just loopy. I mean, you just can't even have a conversation and find some common middle ground. Even if you're not going to agree, you can agree to disagree respectfully and nicely, but just common sense sometimes. Like yesterday, I was talking about Portland, Oregon, and why are they surprised? They're declaring a state of emergency because of the drug crisis with fentanyl. What are you, a bunch of clowns? I'm serious. What the double hockey sticks did you think was going to happen when you decriminalized all drugs in the downtown area? You encouraged homelessness and drug use, and you tried to defund and depower the police to go and enforce the law. What the hell did you think you were going to get? I mean, that's like taking, I don't know, bark mulch and leaves that have been rotting from the fall and a bunch of dirt and putting it in the oven under crust and saying it's apple pie. What did you think you were going to get? You minimized and did all you could to take the power away from the police. They're the problem. Defund, depower, make them the bad guy and bad gals, and decriminalize all drugs downtown, encourage homelessness. What, what? I mean, where is the common sense in that? Free needles, free drug, where, and you get addiction. Where is the common? And by the way, fentanyl is so addictive and it's a killer. What did you think you were going to get? I'm just curious. If you could just ask these people, well, we didn't want these people, to just get arrested and put in jail. That doesn't help their addiction. Okay, get drug courts like we do here. Get them help. Put efforts into getting more people into addiction recovery. But you don't encourage free and open drug use of drugs that can kill, addict, and encourage homelessness in the downtown area where people want to go with their kids on a weekend and throw a frisbee around or play baseball or catch and get some latte. I mean, what where's the common sense? It's like this border debate in Congress and the national media. Where's the common sense? Why doesn't one person ask, forget about Biden and Trump, just forget about Republican Democrats, forget that crap for a minute. We've had a border crisis for 3+ years. It's gotten worse under this administration. They could have done something yesterday, tomorrow, or a year ago to tighten the border, to close part of the border, to change the security metrics. As Commander in Chief, President of the United States, what do you think? We're idiots? When there's an imminent threat to the United States? I mean, they're about to strike Iranian targets in Syria. You do it. you've had a crisis at the border with tens of thousands of people coming across. Now they're starting to commit crimes on our soil against people. I mean, Saturday night in New York City in Times Square, 4 bad guys, dangerous, violent, illegal migrants. They're illegal. They're illegal immigrant, whatever you want to call them. They attacked 2 officers, police officers, kicked them, punched them. So they get arrested, and some moronic judge in New York City releases them without bail. They're back on the streets. Where's the common sense? What do you think those 4 men, dangerous criminals, are going to do? Oh, geez, we beat up 2 police officers in the Big Apple. We beat up 2 police officers, pounded on them, outnumbered them. They couldn't get their guns. We beat them up. They arrest us. They put us in jail and release us. No bail. No bail. Do you think they're going to go out and go into that the local convenience store or wine and cheese shop or restaurant and be nice to the vendor and the woman and child in the store? What are you, stupid? Where's the common sense? What did you think is going the judge in Boston a month ago? How come we haven't read more about this? There's a judge in Boston, Massachusetts, before our presidential primary got lost in the shuffle. The police arrest an illegal migrant for raping a developmentally disabled girl. The guy raped her. He had a history of rape. They catch him. They turn him over. He goes into the prison. Then he goes into the courtroom. The judge releases the rapist without bail. And ICE, the federal folks that round up these animals, the ones who commit crime, I'm saying, a rapist is an animal. I'm sorry if you are too bubble wrapped to agree with that, you and I got Zippo, nada to talk about. So they arrest this dirtbag, and ICE says, "Don't want him go. We're going to come pick him up, take him in federal custody, and deport him because he's going to rape again." Judge says, "I don't believe in your ICE tactics. This person is not a threat." Oh my goodness! Then bring him home with you. Where is the common sense? What's the message to that rapist? Geez, I raped this developmentally disabled, helpless woman. They arrest me. They bring me in. I'm held for a few days or whatever, and they let me go. You think he's going to rape again? What are you, a complete and total moron? Seriously. I do believe, maybe that's a new book I'll write. There's a few books maybe I'll write if I ever get time. There is a form of human rabies going around. I guess, fortunately, I haven't been bitten with it yet. Commentary, 603-228-2080. Come back, we'll tell you about a very important blood drive going on in Manchester back in a moment. Yeah, this just got some feedback from my commentary on common sense and where is it? There's two things I know, or two work environments I wouldn't thrive or survive in, and one is being like a professor in college. I'm just too got a little too much energy and entrepreneurial. I couldn't just be like move at a tortoise or a turtle's pace and like be told why we can't do something, why that doesn't make sense. That's what too much education does. You overthink too much. The other thing is politics. Like I couldn't be patient as president of the United States in a cabinet meeting or a meeting with staff when they're telling me why we haven't done more at the border. I just would come unglued. Yeah, they'd be like, "Oh, he's in a bad mood. He's yelling at everyone." No, I'd be like firing everyone, getting new people in there that can figure out how to get stuff done. But the problem is politics stands in the way. And this is the most unbelievable fact that the national media, but it tells you they have an agenda and they want it to be Biden and Trump again. I think Phil Todd, one of our regular political analysts and all stars, has been correctamundo on this one. The national media wants the general election to be a rematch of Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Tell me I am wrong. I'm watching one of the networks above me here in the studio with our monitors. They've had 10 Donald Trump stories in the last hour. All they do 24/7. They should change their name from a certain maybe begins with C and ends with N and make it the Trump Network. He uses them, they use him, and then Biden over here, and they never do tough stories on Biden. It's unbelievable. The national media is like, oh, the Republicans may not agree on bipartisan agreement to get tough on the border. And they're so stupid, they don't even ask the question of the White House. You don't need Congress to get tough on the border. You're president. Declare, imminent threat to the United States of America and secure the border. You don't want to do it. So stop BSing me. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been suing the governor of Texas, who's been doing this for 3 years to protect his state and doing real things, whether it's fortifying the Rio Grande or trying to put more barriers up and pass laws and deport criminals. And, they've been flooded for years and they're doing something. And all you do every time they do something is just sue them through your Department of Justice. So just stop BSing me, please. You don't give a damn about the border. So please stop. The problem is voters do. So now all of a sudden you do. One of the most not, I mean, I'm just in a mood here on common sense. One of the most nauseating things about Washington, D.C. is I used to say there's three things that power it. Well, two, I used to say money and power. That's the fuel source. But the third is reelection. It's like nuts. At all cost, lie, steal, BS. All they care about is getting reelected. So with the election ahead of them and the poll numbers, even among Democrats in Congress, frustrated the Biden administration hasn't done more to secure the border. Oh, now we care. Now we see the problem. What the hell have you been doing for 3 years? Not 3 months, 3 years. Ah. And then there was light. Coming up, we got a good packed show for you. We got a great top of the 10. We're going to have Aaron Real, NBC News Radio national correspondent. Stephen Janot, he has plenty of common sense, one of the leading economists, Bank of America. He's tell us what's going on with our economy. Tell you about an important blood drive today in Manchester. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Inch. Back in a moment.